Coming in hot, I'm your host and captain of the Reason podcast, Sal Galati. We're going to do something a little bit different. You're just going to get a taste, a dose of reason. Thanks for joining us for a dose. A lot going on in the world, a lot going on in our country, a lot of lies being revealed, a lot of things that were said for many years, and people were called conspiracy theorists and wackos are coming to pass and coming to be true. That all said, we don't revel in it. We pray for those that maybe just can't get their heads wrapped around believing it. But we got to keep talking. So courage in your families and in your friends. I know people like to shut people out, but you got to keep talking. That said, someone called in, and I just want to share what he had to say.
The Reason podcast is one of the greatest podcasts conceived by man. It's true. Okay.
I was just honored to hear that. That's amazing. So today's episode, I'm going to talk about a topic that is in the news, but in the news for the wrong reason. Gerrymandering, and our state of Illinois happens to be in the middle of it because some Texas Congress people are making a theater of our state for their shenanigans. So first off, we hear the term gerrymandering. Where does it come from? There's a politician, his last name was Jerry, and he was one of the first ones to start monkeying around with the maps in a way that doesn't really reflect the will of the people. So all things being equal, if the goal is to truly get the will of the people and people with common interests, you want those people to be live as closely as possible. So a nice box would make sense. Obviously, the district's got to have the same population, so denser populated areas are going to be smaller land masses. So it's not all equal, but it's obvious when you look at a map who's playing monkey business. If you look at like the state of Iowa, for example, that's congressional district thing, just a bunch of squares. Now, obviously, in states with different population centers, and you got to take consideration. But if you look at the Texas map versus the Illinois map, talk about a situation where a pot is calling the kettle black. So Illinois is, from a landmass perspective, is a pretty conservative state. With conservative values. But obviously there's a lot of people in Chicago, a lot of votes there, so that's how the state typically goes. But once you get south, there's this Illinois 13 district that grabs Champaign-Urbana, it grabs Springfield, and it grabs East St. Louis. And it's this little sliver of territory. And so all they're doing there by cutting it that way is they're making a conservative area one for the Democrats. So they're stealing a vote. And there's a lot of this going on. It's gone on for a long, long time. And that's why it's in the news for the wrong reasons. The news is that these Texas people are heroes. The real news is, why do we have gerrymandering in all these states to this day? And a really obscene amount of gerrymandering. And on top of that, the census. Illinois got probably too many representatives as it is. The census determines, that is done every 10 years, how many representatives we send, how many electoral votes we send based on our population. And people that are counted in that shouldn't be are non-citizens. And that was a fight that Trump put up when his first term. I don't know if anyone remembered. And they fought it tooth and nail. And you go, why do these people are so desperate, the Democrat Party, to have non-citizens counted? They go, well, how are we going to know how to allocate resources and all that? No, this is what it's about. It's about the votes. It's about power. Nothing less, nothing more. That's always what it's about. This is important because, the House in Illinois, both at the state level and then the reps we send to D.C., by the state, the popular vote, it's not as out of whack. But what they've done over the years with the majorities and the supermajorities, they've continually made these maps where it's impossible for Republicans to win. And talk about Republicans, too. Who cares about Republican, Democrat? This is mostly a one-party situation. The GOP in Illinois wants to lose. And if people come up that actually have some fortitude, some integrity, that actually want to win, that want to try to get their policies across the board, the biggest threat that they will face is the GOP party. I know from personal experience at a very small level, and I know people that know it at a very high level. So people go, well, that's not true, Sal. I get the emails, and they're fighting in Illinois, and the GOP's raising money, and they're doing this. Okay, they raising money. They want your money. What are they doing with your money to win? Are they putting it behind people that advocate for the policies that got Trump elected, that got Trump more votes in our state than Pritzker got? If someone actually ran on a America First agenda on a statewide election, they would do much better than these mealy-mouthed Republicans that we put up. But anyone like that, and I know people like that have tried, they can't punch through. They can't punch through. The party will keep them down because they're a threat to their system. Here's the system. The Harlem Globetrotters? They would play the Washington Generals. it was never really made to be an actual match. It was the generals were there to be the idiots that the Globetrotters can dunk around and do all the tricks on. That was the show. This is our show. They play a role, and they don't really want to win. They like it the way it is. They're comfortable the way it is. And if you get close and try to change it up, I mean, granted, there's a couple in there that want it different, that snuck through, but the control of the party is they want controlled opposition to just lose. Because the money being spent, the waste and abuse and the fraud, that's how they profit. It's the same at the state level as it is at the federal level. Why do you think so many Republicans hate Trump? He's ruining the party for everyone. So they have the theater. He cuts through the theater and he's showing you, look, these guys are pretty much different side of the same coin. There's not much difference here. So let's go to a conservative state like Texas. You go Texas, oh, it's conservative. Trump won it by a lot. But yet, if you look at the politicians there, they're not very supportive of Trump on the Republican side. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And you're like, what's going on here? Here's what's going on. In these very red districts, whoever wins the primary wins the election, wins the seat. So really at the primary stage, if you put forth a grassroots guy, small guy, not a politician, just a guy with integrity, wants to do a good job, versus the political guy that is controlled by the party, who do you think is going to win the primary? There you go. And that's why these seats are controlled by not people that actually represent the will of their constituents. They represent the will of the party. That's the corruption. That's the problem. And one of those issues is getting this map straightened out. And in Texas, unlike Illinois, there's actually like legitimate reasons for wanting to redistrict. Trump has actually been increasing his margins with, I want to say it like they say, Latino. He's got these Hispanic guys that obviously don't even know how to speak Spanish. They're third, fourth generation in this country. They speak with no accent at all. And then Latino comes up, Latino. And then the Latino accent, all that stuff. It's such a pandering to people, and it diminishes people to nothing more than their race and ethnicity, which we are so much more. This has to do with what our identity is and where our identity is found, and it's found in Christ. Doesn't matter our color. Actually, the other day I sent a text to a group of friends, and I screwed up because my social security number was on the same picture, but I was filling out a form, and it had race. It wanted my race, so I put human, and I took a picture as a joke to send everybody. My social security number was on there, so I asked everyone to delete it. But that aside, that's the truth of the matter. It's one race. We're all the human race. And anyone who seeks to divide us and draw the maps based on those things so they could try to get gerrymander to vote in their favor, it's just a degrading of our true identity. And God, even if you haven't accepted Jesus as your Savior, you are made in the image of God. You have an identity there. But to go to the Illinois maps, I mean, talk about a clown show. This map couldn't possibly have anything to do with having one person represent the will of the district. If I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, it shouldn't be that my congressional district grabs some votes from the city and then stretches out to me. It's not a race thing. The things that affect me are different than affect the people that are in Gold Coast downtown or the south side of Chicago or rural Illinois. You can't mix them all up in a manner just to get votes. And I don't want Texas to do that either, quite frankly. I think Texas has a legitimate reason. You know, there's a quote from Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, that is, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. So I would wish that all the maps would get drawn in a fair way. But they're not being drawn in a fair way now. But all of a sudden, Texas wants to redraw some maps that they feel are better going to represent the actual demographics of the state, albeit the Republicans will pick up seats. But we all know what's going to happen. If the House goes to the Democrat Party, rest assured, first things first, there will be an impeachment of Donald Trump. Now, maybe the country wants that. I don't think it does. You know, I've noticed a lot of people have gotten pretty quiet because Trump's policies are working and the country's doing well. We were in a big hole. Things are coming around. I mean, wars were started all over the place. He stopped more wars than in the last 6 months than the nation started in the last 40 years. How is that not Nobel Prize worthy when Obama got one for just essentially being elected? Which the stuff's starting to come out on Obama too, and that's going to keep going and keep growing. You know, I've been listening to old interviews of him because I want to see, like, what was he saying when he knew he was lying? And man, that guy, he would speak so slowly. He would only throw a few words at a time. I mean, he really planned out his words. And That's one thing, man. Like, we got too many attorneys in politics, and that's why I like Trump too. Is just because he just says it like it is, and not this fork-tongued, deceiving twisting of truth that some of these attorneys are experts in. So this is all about reflecting the will of people in an honest way. So, like, let's be real honest, because we got these guys in Texas. These Democrats now are running off to Illinois, and they went to a suburb that's pretty nice, got some nice restaurants, got some nice bars, and they're having a good time. I wonder who's paying for all that. Seems to be the record show, George Soros' son, and the Open Borders Foundation is behind the funding of it, but whatever, I'll be labeled a conspiracy theorist. But they're having a good old time, and now I get a headline. Apparently someone called in a bomb threat. Whatever. Maybe they did. There's no bomb. Big panic. Pritzker puts out a big message that he's with them, and he's standing. Out of curiosity, I Googled how many people got shot in Chicago this weekend. I think it was 19 got shot and 2 killed. And Pritzker had nothing to say about that. But the fake bomb threat that, I don't know, maybe someone did call it in, but it seems like a nonsense, honestly. That is going to get everyone, up in arms. And, like, these guys are heroes. They're not heroes. They're theatrical people. They're clowns. They're puppets. They're doing what they're told. They have no integrity. This isn't about taking away people's votes. If you were so concerned, why would you run to the most gerrymandered state in the union, probably? Just look at the map. So what is evident is these people are desperate. They need to get control of oversight again. They need to get control of the House. They don't want this Obama thing to get investigated and the Messiah to fall apart. And they really have nothing to run on. Run on something. Win an election. The real way. And in Texas, a lot of those people that voted Democrat for many years, this last election, they voted for Trump because they wanted their border closed. They didn't want people running in their backyard. They didn't want to find bodies in their backyard. And, they're entitled to that. But let's be serious about it. Let's talk to people about it. Even if they want to shut you down and not talk to you anymore. I'm reading these articles about people talking about how families are breaking up and people are talking to each other because of this stuff. That's sad. We have a right to speak. And don't make your speech with your friends conditional on it only being what you want to talk about or what you want to hear about or what you agree with. Because we all know when you're in your circles of self-patting themselves on the back geniuses, you make fun of everyone else. I know you do. I know you make fun of the Rubes in Iowa and the Hicks in Arkansas and Missouri and all that stuff. The people in the cities of this country, they really can't do much. They're so reliant on all the people they insult and demean their entire existence while they get everything taken care of for them. They talk about green energy. They make more waste than anyone with all their express meals and takeout and Uber Eats and all this stuff. So, yeah, I sound a little annoyed. I'm a little annoyed. I don't know how anyone could watch what's going on and not understand that they're being lied to and deceived. With all the lies coming out and all the lies that people had, half the country was saying were lies, the Russia collusion, the Ukraine phone call, all this stuff and more to come, Lord willing. Does the country want to see another fake impeachment and just logjam our government in nonsense? The way we're going to help our country out really is keep talking. So share the episode. If you agree with me, great. If you don't agree with me, send me an email, reasonstoreasons@gmail.com. Let's talk. Maybe I could bring you on for a conversation. Send it to your friends and family that don't agree. Send it to your friends and family that are just caught up in this Republican-Democrat scam, that believe every lie being told about Trump. Who cares about the theater? Let's start living in reality.
Sing it!
Thanks for joining us for another episode. I hope I got you thinking and out of your comfort zone. Believe me, the biggest fear your government has is a population that is thinking and talking to one another. So get out there, take a risk, start a conversation, make a friend, and reason with each other. Share the show with someone who you think needs to hear it. I wish you peace and love.